In this video, I'm going to show you 5 benefits of study abroad and why you have to do it this semester. Like I mentioned in earlier videos, study abroad can be free if you optimize for the right things. Click here if you haven't watched that video yet. If you live in a country for a long time, you can live more like a local and be able to explore more unique areas where most tourists don't go to. These places also tend to be a lot cheaper in comparison. For example, on TripAdvisor, some of the top attractions include Gardens by the Bay, which costs 28 Singaporean dollars, the Sea Aquarium in Sentosa Island, which ranges between $40 to $80 depending on what kind of package you buy, Universal Studios Singapore, which costs around 80 Singaporean dollars, and the Singapore Zoo, which costs 33 Singaporean dollars. If you actually lived in Singapore for a while though, you'd get pretty bored of these touristy attractions. So what do people actually do there for entertainment? Like what people do anywhere else in the world, hang out and eat. By meeting different people and finding different places to eat, I felt like I was able to explore Singapore so much better. Whether it was eating 30-cent pieces of sushi with my group project members at school, going to people's houses for dinner after church, or trying to find that perfect burger that would fulfill my American taste buds, eating of itself was an adventure. And I'm saying that as someone who's not even a foodie at all. By comparison to major tourist attractions, these more low-key activities like going on a hike or exploring different neighborhoods are completely free and give you a totally different perspective of the country, while giving you a sense of the culture there as well. In addition, because you're in a completely different region of the world, you can fly to different countries for much cheaper. For example, flying from Singapore to Bali in Indonesia can cost you less than $100 round trip. That's freaking crazy. Where I'm from in Texas, it costs about double that amount to take a 30-minute flight from my hometown in Dallas to fly to school in Austin. In Asia, there's a lot of other benefits of being able to fly budget airlines such as AirAsia or Jetstar. While there's no free drinks or seats that lean back compared to standard airlines, you really can't beat the value that these airlines offer. Because flights are so cheap, I was able to fly to 9 different countries during my 5-month stay there. While these flights certainly add up, there's a lot of ways that you can manage this, and I'll be showing you more on how to do this in future videos, so stay tuned. Because you're staying in one place for so long, you learn about the different cultures in that region. Even though I was in Asia, many times I felt like I was in another Western country, just with a lot of other Asian people like me. In Singapore, everyone spoke English in addition to their native languages. The streets were spotless, and many different subcultures were able to mingle together like they did in America. This was totally different from my experience going to Taiwan with my parents growing up, where everyone spoke the same languages and looked the same. As a result, my concept of Asia was changed, despite being an Asian myself. In addition, you learn about the cultures and living situations of other countries when you travel. For example, in Cambodia, we explored a few different rural villages as part of a bike tour and had a really genuine conversation with one of the tour guides there about what life in Cambodia was like. They talked about what it was like for them to go to college and not have many jobs to apply to after they graduated because the corruption in the government prevented the development of the country. At a Cambodian Civil War museum, I learned of the horrors of what it was like during that time, where the government killed people who had educations because they felt they were a threat to their power. And I even touched a bullet that was lodged in a veteran's leg. By hearing these different perspectives, I started to see how privileged I was just to have that native blue US passport with that gold emblem. Although I honestly didn't like Cambodia that much, the conversations I had there made my visit so much more worthwhile. So when you're abroad, you're going to grow as a person, guaranteed. Not only are you learning about all these different cultures, you're learning how to adjust to an entirely new life in a different country, and sometimes that can really suck. But what you gain is a whole new sense of independence and confidence to be comfortable no matter where you are. For example, I grew up in Plano, Texas, a suburb in Dallas, Texas, where it's often reported to be the safest and most family-friendly city in America. After high school, I went to the University of Texas at Austin, which wasn't too big of a transition for me. While I didn't see my parents too often, they were always there for me. They helped me move in, made sure that I had all the necessities I needed, and were only a 3-hour drive away if I ever needed anything. Additionally, a lot of my friends from high school were there, and my brother was there also, able to help me out, and so basically I was just hanging out with all the same people as I did back home. It was basically as if I picked up my life in Plano and then moved to Austin. The community, the parental support, the lifestyle, studies, everything was nearly the same as it was back in high school. Study abroad was completely different. I was dropped off in Singapore with 2 suitcases of stuff. I literally knew no one in Singapore, and the first day, I couldn't even find where my dorm room was, and I had no idea how to find it. It took me about 40 minutes in sweltering 100% humidity and 90-degree weather, heaving my 2 50-pound luggages down and up a bunch of stairs until I'd finally got the key to my dorm room. When I walked into my tiny room for the first time, I found out there was no air conditioning or Wi-Fi. To make matters worse, I blew out the electricity in my room when I tried to plug in the power strip and proceeded to lock myself out when trying to get help. It hadn't even been 3 hours since I landed in Singapore, but my life was already a mess. But you know what? I got used to it. I slowly started locking myself out of my room less and less, got involved with a church community where I met so many caring individuals and made a lot of friends at school who I could hang out with and travel. When I ran into some of my life's most stressful situations, such as begging at the airport because I ran out of cash in Malaysia, also while having a fever and food poisoning, I learned how to stay alive and stay as calm as possible to use whatever my brain was capable of to get myself out of those situations. One of the best parts of study abroad is the people that you meet from all over the world. In a lot of exchange programs, there are events for exchangers to get to hang out and to get to know one another. And that's really cool because I got to learn about a lot of different cultures. But at the same time, it was really horrifying as an introvert. As I met more people, I learned how to ask better questions and was able to make friends a little easier, I think. Slowly but surely, my travel crew was assembled, and it was a really awesome time to eat some great food, learn about what life was like in their part of the world, and to travel all over Southeast Asia with them. If you guys are watching this video, I miss you all a bunch, and thanks for all the great times that we had while we were abroad. Because you're learning all of these skills from study abroad, you now have loads of life stories you can talk about during your interviews. You've learned how to be an expert traveler, how to deal with stressful situations, how to be a better conversationalist, how to interact with people of other cultures, and how to navigate new environments. Studying abroad not only develops you into a more interesting person who has depth and character, but it also gives you important skills that many recruiters are looking for in a job that you may want. This is so important since your job is what is going to help you fund your newfound addiction with travel. And as a final bonus tip, you learn what matters in life. When you are studying abroad, you're put into many situations, good and bad. You learn to really appreciate what you have back at home while also looking forward to what new adventures the world has to offer. You come home with a fresh perspective of life and what you want to do with it. For me, I realized that experiences are way better than things. I didn't want to be stuck at a desk job my whole life. I wanted to gain financial independence by saving my money not on material things, but on experiences and being with friends like I did when I was back in Singapore. This has been my philosophy to this day, 2 years later. Send this to a friend who's planning on studying abroad or is currently studying abroad. If you have any questions about anything I mentioned in this video, comment down below and I'll answer. In my next video, I'll be kicking off a series on how to manage your money as a young professional. So if that interests you, stay tuned and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you know when that next video is coming out.